Hey everyone, welcome back. So a few of you have sent me this article from thetravel.com, and I'll admit, the headline kind of made me raise a bit of an eyebrow. It says Canada's US travel boycott is backfiring in the most unexpected way at US Customs and Border Protection. I don't know about that, because in my opinion, this boycott seems to be doing exactly as planned. What we are seeing right now looks more like Canadians reacting to actions that were already implemented by CBP. So yeah, I'm going to dig into this a little bit. I also have a clip from CBC, where they speak with a Canadian snowbird couple who officially said that they're done with the United States. And their sentiment lines up almost perfectly with the interview I did with Dee. While we're on this topic, I do want to talk to more Canadian snowbirds, and even international ones, who decided that they're done with the US. So if this is you, and you want to share your story, send me an email. Today's backdrop comes from Craig, who sent in this photo from Webster's Fall in Ontario. I couldn't quite fit the bottom of the waterfall into the frame, but it's still a great photo. So thank you for sending this over, Craig. And before I get started, I just want to remind everyone about the Guard the Leaf subreddit. I still see a lot of you trying to post links in the comments. Those are disabled for security reasons. But if you join Reddit and post in the GTL subreddit, everybody can see it. And it's free to use. Oh, one last thing. Stick around to the end, because I have a few photos from my walk this weekend around Kuala Lumpur. Alright, let's get into the first report.
Charles Burt and Marilee Mollard are getting advice from their travel agent on where to travel this winter.
So, have you guys decided on where you would like to go?
Well, on the bucket list is Puerto Vallarta.
The Manitoba couple usually spends weeks or even months at a trailer park in Westlaco, Texas, but not this year.
This honestly makes me happy to hear, especially after talking with Dee, who I interviewed a few days ago. There's way too much narrative coming from the South saying that it's business as usual, that the snowbirds are returning and everything's normal, just like the previous report I covered out of Arizona.
Janice Smith agrees, saying Arizona remains a premier destination for Canadian snowbirds like her.
I think there's a few people that make a loud noise about certain things and try and stir people up, but when you come right down to it, I've never had an issue. My family haven't had issues, and we're going to continue to come.
Well, Janet, maybe you should stay down there. You certainly don't speak for me or thousands of Canadians. I really hated this report. They were interviewing Canadians who were literally getting off the plane, arriving in Arizona. Of course those people are going to say they love the US. That does not reflect what thousands of Canadians actually feel, like you and I and everyone listening right now. A much better gauge would be listening to the snowbirds who are not landing in the United States.
Here.
Since the election of Trump and the insults that he placed on our country, 51st state and all of that garbage, we decided that, no, we're not going to spend money down there.
They're not the only ones making that decision. According to the Mexican Ministry of Tourism, the number of Canadians flying to Mexico increased by 11.3% between January and September compared to the year before.
This is another stat that I'm honestly happy to see. Let me ask the viewers right now. How many of you decided to cancel your US trip this year and head to Mexico or anywhere else in the world? I previously did a video showing how many people canceled their US trips and how much money the United States was losing because of it. I'd actually really like to do another one of those videos, but I do need the help of the viewers. So if you made alternate plans in 2025, list out where you were originally planning to go in the US, where you went instead, and roughly how much money the US lost because you didn't go. In the last video, one of our viewers actually tallied everything up, and I think it came out to about 1.2 million with just 25 submissions. That also did include snowbirds as well. So if you want to see that kind of video again, drop your comments below and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it when it comes out.
An increase of almost 200,000 tourists. Melia Hotels International is seeing it at its 8 Mexican resorts.
Definitely in the last year, compared to the previous year, we have seen an increase of 22% of Canadians coming to our Mexican properties.
Meanwhile, the United States is experiencing what some analysts are calling the Trump effect. The U.S. National Travel and Tourism Office is reporting a 24% decrease in Canadian tourists in the first 6 months of this year.
I'm honestly happy for Mexico and other countries that have benefited from the worldwide boycott of the United States. And that includes Canadians who decided to stay home, as well as international tourists who avoided the US and chose to come to Canada instead. I have received dozens of emails from people in Europe, Asia, Central and South America, and even Australia and New Zealand, telling me they had a great time in Canada and that they were originally planning to visit the United States. Some of them came to Canada for the first time and told me they'll definitely be back. The Trump effect is clearly keeping both Canadians and international tourists away from the US. But let's not forget, there are also people who supported him and voted him in, like this guy in my comments. Okay, Alan, I understand where your education level's at. Go talk to those border towns and tourist destinations that are literally pleading for people to spend money just to survive. The same businesses and tourism officials who are missing our dollars and keep sending us promo codes and discounts. But then again, I wouldn't expect you to understand.
Well, we are seeing really a meaningful realignment, as I would refer to, of Canadians booking less to the U.S. Year to date, we've seen on average a 37% decrease of new bookings from Canada to the U.S.
Yeah, there's tons to do in Puerto Vallarta. There's tons. And in all around that whole area. So you won't be bored.
Good.
Perfect.
Back in Manitoba, where winter has settled in, this couple is looking forward to their Mexican vacation.
You can make the choice. You can support Canada, which is exactly what we did and are doing, and support Mexico.
Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
She's absolutely correct. Everyone has a choice when it comes to this. You can choose to support Canada, or you can choose to put your own wants and needs ahead of the country that you're from. Hell, I'm halfway around the world right now, and I have never felt more proud to be wearing my Canucks gear, as well as my Canada hat while walking around KL. Okay, maybe not the Canucks hat at the moment since we're dead last, but I'm not a bandwagon jumper, so I'm still gonna wear it. If you have subscribed to my channel, you have made a choice to stand up for Canada. And if you're not Canadian and you're watching, you still have made the choice to support Canada and do what's morally right. Now, for those still continuing to go to the States, hey, Canada's a free country. You can do whatever you want. We're not gonna ask you for your last 5 years of social media, your emails, or search your phone. We do not have ICE roaming around the streets, only ICE on the roads. But for those who continue to go south, like I've said in my previous videos, do not bitch or whine if something happens while you're down there. Because honestly, no one is going to have any sympathy for you at all. Now, moving on to the next topic. Many of you sent me this report from the BBC, and it's titled, "Where Are Canadians Going?" I'm not going to read the whole entire article because it's a bit long, but I will highlight some of the key points from it. And as always, the links will be in the description below. The article starts off by stating that the US travel boycott is now in its 12th straight month of decline. Canada makes up approximately 28% of all foreign tourists to the United States in 2024. And from January to October, they were reporting a 23% decrease in Canadians traveling to the US. And that's just Canadians. We already know Europe, Australia, and other regions are also boycotting in large numbers as well. So the main question is, where are Canadians going instead? Emily Brillin, who is a writer and a content creator, used to cover road trips across Canada and the United States. But last March, she decided to make a conscious shift and focus solely on Canada. She even canceled her Grand Canyon trip planned for 2025. And her reason was simple. She wanted to support the Canadian economy instead, which is exactly what many of us here have chosen to do as well. Toronto publicist Tracy Lamourie is also choosing not to travel to the United States. She has said that between the 51st state rhetoric and ongoing human rights concerns, the US is now on her no-go list, like many of us as well. She has also shifted her plans to Europe instead. According to Stats Canada, Canadian travel has increased to several destinations: Mexico, Portugal, the Bahamas, Belize, Buenos Aires, Osaka, Copenhagen, and Krakow. And spending in all these destinations are way up as well. I'm pretty sure the US is missing this money, considering the fact they're asking for $20 if you're stopping by their city. I'm not going to go through the rest of the article. It does touch a bit on Vermont and how they're down in terms of tourists. But you can go ahead and click on the link below to read it on your own. The point I actually wanted to make was that Canadians have not stopped traveling because of the US. We're still traveling in high numbers, just not to our dysfunctional neighbor to the south. So I would strongly encourage anyone listening right now to continue supporting Canada and also support our allied nations as well. Now moving on to the article I showed at the very beginning of this video. That headline to me was a bit WTF if you ask me. The article starts off by claiming that our Canadian boycott has now backfired in the most unexpected way, apparently leading to more stringent border controls for Canadians trying to cross into the United States. What the hell kind of logic is that? CBP border guards have been complete pricks for decades, and the rudeness and the profiles only escalated once Trump got into the White House. He basically gave the CBP guards a free pass to be as ruthless as they wanted to be. The editor then goes on to say that because of our boycott, there is more time spent with CBP guards, more thorough checks, and because of that, our boycott is supposedly backfiring. You can agree or disagree with me on this. That logic is like saying because millions of Canadians are not visiting, the bully has more time to harass the ones who still go, so somehow this boycott is not working. Talk about gaslighting. Personally, I would rather not deal with the bully at all. Those who still want to go, they can deal with it. But this is not backfiring in my opinion. I actually think our boycott is working perfectly well. The second part of this quote-unquote backfiring that the editor mentions is the claim that domestic tourism is becoming too expensive. And her source for this is some random person on Reddit. Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with that. Because Canada just had one of its best tourism seasons on record. Why? Because Canadians chose to travel at home, and international tourists decided to visit Canada instead of the US. And here's the difference. We actually have two headlines, one from CBC and another from Destination Canada, both saying that the tourism season was one of the best on record. So yeah, I think I'm going to trust CBC and Destination Canada a lot more than an editor quoting a random Reddit comment. You can view the full article by Christina Maselli if you want to read the whole thing on your own. But in my opinion, our Canadian boycott of the United States is far from backfiring. Trying to twist what happens at the border into being our fault, as if CBP guards suddenly decided to act like Biff Tannen because of us, that's not on Canadians. And it definitely does not mean that the boycott is backfiring. I also know that the travel.com watches my videos. They have referenced one of my videos in a previous article before. So Christina, I'm sure you will eventually see this, and here's my message to you. Our Canadian boycott is not backfiring. CBP has been an issue for decades because of officers who feel like they can act as ruthless as they want. Now that they've been given a green light to continue behaving this way, which just grants full authority to people who already love to power trip. This was happening long before Trump, and it's happening even more now. So no, our boycott did not start this. Yes, there might be fewer Canadians going south, which gives CBP more time with each person who still crosses. But that's not because of the boycott. That's because of the attitudes and the power trip that existed well before Trump even took office. So I really wanted everyone to see the multiple factors, the narratives, and the different directions that the media is trying to push about what's actually going on right now. Some outlets are saying that the snowbirds are flocking back to Arizona, that Canadians will return in droves once the weather gets cold. Others are saying the boycott's not working, and that the United States is doing just fine. Some media completely ignores the Canadian boycott altogether, discrediting the fact that we're actually doing real damage. And last but not least, the narrative that Canada is being too sensitive, that we need to relax, or just take a joke. So by calling this out, and by saying it out loud, I'll continue to make sure that our voices are still heard. I'm far from being a professional in this space. I mean, hell, I got a screaming cat in the background, and I'm pretty sure I'm dyslexic. I've never taken a media course. I don't have any degrees or diplomas in media or communication. No formal training on how to speak properly in a public setting. I work in the tech industry, and you know tech guys, we're introverts. This is something I do on the side. But what I do know is the difference between right and wrong. And somehow, there are 107,000 people who stand behind me. Wait, is it 107 or 108? 108,000 people who stand behind me and my words. So I want to thank each and every one of you for sticking around. I hope what I say and how I see things resonates with you during these strange and honestly dark times. I'm not always right. In fact, I'm wrong a lot, especially when it comes to pronouncing Canadian city names. But I hope this shows my passion for Canada, because a lot of what I talk about comes directly from you, the viewers. And for that, I am grateful. Now to close this off, my wife and I decided to continue exploring Kuala Lumpur. I already showed you photos of the Petronas Towers in the previous video, which I guess they call it the KLCC Towers. But this photo is the second tallest building in the world, called the Merdeka 118. This thing is massive, and it looks like there's going to be another shopping mall at the base of the tower. One thing Kuala Lumpur definitely has is a lot of malls. Not like Vancouver, which I think is just Metrotown, Pacific Center, Richmond Center, and that's all I can think of. This next photo was taken just outside of Chinatown. It's a great spot for photos, but what I was really paying attention to was where the tourists were actually from. And while I was there, I actually did speak to another Canadian. He and his girlfriend were visiting from Winnipeg, and they said they were having an absolute blast on their Southeast Asia trip. We briefly talked about what's going on back home, and he actually told me that he's actively avoiding the United States. In fact, he said that he would not even be in Malaysia if it weren't for the current political turmoil. I wanted to share this with you because it's proof that a lot of our fellow Canadians are starting to broaden their travel destinations. And honestly, I hope that continues moving forward. All right, that's it for today's video. I feel like I've been talking a lot in this one, but if you're still here watching, I really appreciate you sticking around to the end. It genuinely helps the algorithm to get these videos in front of more people if you watch to the end. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next one.